I've been talking about reviewing The Office for probably about 3 years now, and since that video's taken so long, for a variety of reasons, I thought I would instead break up my numerous thoughts on the show into several different videos. Because, to be honest, I don't know if I'll ever make that one mega review with the amount of stuff I want to say about the show. So for this first video, I thought I'd go through my top 10 favorite episodes of the US version of The Office, which for those of you who don't know, is my favorite TV show. I love it to death, and I've watched it more times than I'd care to count. Given that I love this show so much, this was a difficult list to put together, because with a few exceptions, I enjoy pretty much all the episodes of this show on some level, and even the ones I think are subpar have good moments. So I decided to go through the Wikipedia page listing all 201 episodes and narrow it down to the ones that I really enjoy. Trying to be harsh here, you know? And that left me with a very narrowed down list of 84 episodes. So I went through that list again and tried to cut it just down to the best of the best, and then I got it to the top of the top list of 32 episodes. Finally, from that, I extracted the 10 that I liked the most, but let me tell you, it was not a painless process. So without further ado, here are my 10 favorite episodes of The Office. Alright, first up, at number 10 is the episode Murder from Season 6, where The Office thinks the company is going to shut down, and Jim tries to handle it professionally, while Michael tries to distract The Office by playing a game. Some people didn't like the plotline of Jim becoming a co-manager for the first half of Season 6. I quite enjoyed it, as I felt we got to see a different side of Jim for a bit, and his conflicts with Michael led to some very funny moments.
Jim, don't take this the wrong way. Are you going to take this the wrong way?
It's hard to tell so far.
You use your brain too much.
I'm sorry, are you advocating that I use it less?
And that's perfectly encapsulated in this episode. Their conflicting management styles not only lead to funny moments, but also a really underrated heartfelt moment. Throughout the whole episode, Michael's been incredibly irritating, and Jim finally loses his temper a bit. And then afterwards, Jim realizing that Michael trying to cheer people up is well-intentioned and is nice for the office on such a stressful day leads to this moment.
That's not...
Well, there is some bad news. There has been another murder.
A murder, you say?
It's not a huge moment, but every time I see it, it really makes me smile, and that's what I think this episode shows very well about The Office. The mix of humor and heart that makes it so special. Also, this episode includes possibly Oscar's funniest moment of the show.
And we're having problems paying the people who give us the seeds and the dirt. We can't pay them. Michael.
Next up, at number 9, I've got to have one of the Christmas episodes on this list. They're classics, and I think the best one of the series is A Benihana Christmas. It's the one that makes me laugh the most, it has some classic Office moments, and I've noticed with the Office Christmas episodes, even if there's a relatively more unhappy storyline going on at the time of them airing, usually some kind of romantic problem with one of the main characters, because it's a Christmas episode, they want to make the viewers happy and put them in the Christmas spirit and cheerful and all that. So I like that even though this was during the whole Jim, Pam, Karen storyline, they still give a very fun, wholesome ending for Jim and Pam, and really, it's just a wholesome episode in general. Gets me in the Christmas spirit every time. Then, at number 8, probably the most iconic episode of The Office. Certainly the one that was viewed the most when it aired, and contains the clip that I see posted the most of the show. Stress relief. Also, yes, for all two-parters on this list, I'm including them as one episode. Probably should have said that with the Benihana one. Anyway, the reason this episode is so packed with good stuff, and really feels like the whole crew put their absolute all into it, is because this aired right after the Super Bowl, which meant it would have a ton of new viewers watching it, hence the unusually high viewing numbers. So the writers wanted to present the best episode possible for these new viewers, and they did a great job. It's a hysterical episode, has a good Jim and Pam storyline, a wholesome ending. It's great. Plus, this has not one, not two, but 3 of the entire show's best scenes. In one episode. Technically 2, but whatever. That's gotta count for something. Those 3 scenes are some of the most laugh-out-loud funny moments of the show, and extremely quotable as well. This would be higher, if not for one reason. The whole Jack Black thing kinda lets it down a bit. It's not bad, but it does feel kind of out of place. They did that because it was the big Super Bowl episode, so they wanted some celebrity cameos. But it's just not as good as some of the other stuff going on, and feels a bit shoehorned in. On the whole though, very iconic episode, and one of the funniest of the entire show. Okay, Branch Wars. This is more of a personal pick for me. I mean, all of these are obviously personal picks, but this one, there isn't anything extremely stand out about it. It's just an episode I love rewatching over and over. There are a lot of similar episodes that are just kind of regular Office episodes that could slot into the spot. Personally, I just think this is one of the funniest. I love whenever Michael, Jim, and Dwight team up for something in the show. It's always guaranteed to be hilarious, and their raid on Utica is the epitome of that. Plus, the Finer Things Club is a pretty funny B-story. It's an episode you can watch again and again, and it stays funny. Now at number 6, I'm actually going to put the series finale. Say what you will about seasons 8 and 9, but this finale really did wrap up the show in a great and satisfying way. Almost each character gets a nice and or funny resolution, Jim, Pam, and Dwight especially. It has its very funny moments. Michael returning is one of the best moments in the show. If you're a fan of The Office and that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. And the last 5 to 10 minutes of the episode, where they're in the office and each character discusses their memories, some might call it a bit cheesy, but I love that kind of nostalgic, fond look back, and it's perfect for the show. This show made me laugh and tear up and had me invested in these fun characters. Hell, because of how fun it is to watch and the characters and the writing, I almost felt like I'd been working in that office with these people, and I'm sure other people have a similar feeling. This is a show that people watched for years, for many on a weekly basis, with friends, with family. As far as TV shows go, it's been a big part of a lot of people's lives. And this finale gave a beautiful happy ending to it that I really loved. It's an excellent ending. Coming in at number 5, I'm going for Cafe Disco. This is another episode I would consider a great example of the mix of humor and heart that The Office has. It's such a wholesome episode, and I love that. Just the general vibe of the episode, how it ends with the whole office joining Michael's silly idea and having a disco at work, Phyllis and Dwight's whole storyline, Jim and Pam staying for the dance. It's a perfect feel-good episode. If you're down and you want to watch an episode of The Office, this one should cheer you up. It's also, as expected, extremely funny, and while maybe it isn't the funniest moment in the episode, this whole interaction between Michael and Dwight never fails to crack me up.
Well, this is no good. Yeah. Back injuries are common. Not as common as knee injuries, but more common than wrist injuries.
I don't need a history lesson, okay?
What do you think history is?
Just, we need to get her out of there because no one is going to want to go in there with a woman writhing around on the floor. Wait.
Then, you know I gotta do it. It's a classic episode. There's no big plotline going on, there aren't any huge revelations, just goofy shenanigans in the office done to perfection. The injury. Simple premise, hilarious moments, great comic timing, fun moments between Jim and Pam and Michael and Dwight and Jim and Dwight and Pam and Dwight and Michael and Jim and Pam and Michael, and the side characters have funny moments. I have to include it on this list because some of these episodes, like the finale or a Christmas episode, are sort of exceptional episodes, where there's something a bit more to it than usual in terms of premise, or other episodes where there's a big emotional moment that makes it stand out. This episode perfectly sums up really what the average episode of The Office is. It's the episode that does it perfectly. It also includes Jim saying a line that I think most people were thinking throughout most of season 1 and 2.
I want to clamp Michael's face in a George Foreman grill.
On a comedic level, and just sitting down and enjoying an episode, this has got to be up there. At number 3, I've got a classic season 3 episode, The Return. Now, this is a standout episode because I think it showcases something The Office does very well quite a few times, and that is character comeuppances. The Office has a lot of very, very unlikable characters that, while adding a funny dynamic to the show, frustrate or annoy the viewer, and getting to see some justice get served to those characters is extremely satisfying. And there has never been a better example than Andy Bernard and the phone in the ceiling prank. Andy Bernard in season 3 was such an unlikable character. I quite enjoyed him, as Ed Helms does a great job with this horrible, smarmy character, leading to some of the funniest interactions of the season.
I'm so horny.
Okay, I can't help you with that.
But as a character, he is so irritating, and he screwed over a character who now the viewers quite liked in Dwight. It's funny, that's something else The Office does really well. They make very unlikable characters likable by introducing characters that are even more unlikable. Anyway, to see Michael put Andy in his place, and then the phone prank from Jim leading to the wall punch, it's not only hilarious, but very satisfying from a story perspective. The drama love triangle of season 3 between Jim, Pam, and Karen is also quite interesting in this episode. It has a feel-good ending with Dwight coming back. It's generally very funny, like most episodes, including a fun cameo from Yvette Nicole Brown. But again, I think what really puts it above most of the others is how fun and satisfying it is to see season 3 Andy finally get some comeuppance. Okay, coming up in the runner-up spot, very close, I've got Dinner Party. This is the perfect example of The Office awkwardness done right. A lot of The Office humor comes from the awkward, cringeworthy interactions and situations created by the characters, and I'll be honest, occasionally they lean a little too hard into that, and it's so uncomfortable that it loses some of the comedy. I think Dinner Party is a great example of where it's excruciatingly awkward, but in the funniest way possible. Every joke hits, it's laugh-out-loud funny from start to end, has some of the best and most quotable Office moments.
That's sort of an oaky afterbirth.
What was that?
It's relatable, obviously in an exaggerated way, but the awkwardness of being at a dinner party that you don't particularly want to be at is done perfectly. It also feels like a proper climax of the season 4 dysfunctional Jan Michael storyline that had been building. It is a hilarious episode, one of the best. And finally, at the number 1 spot, I've got to go with what really I view as the pilot of the show, the Dundies. I know there were 6 episodes before this in season 1, but the show doesn't really start to feel like itself and find its footing in my opinion until season 2 episode 1. In fact, when I recommend the show to people and they say, oh yeah, I'm not crazy about season 1 so far, I usually say, just get to season 2 episode 1, and then decide if you want to keep watching. The Dundies is everything that makes The Office great. It's very funny, it has some great moments between Jim and Pam, who have great chemistry and very believable and fun interactions. It has Michael being a complete moron, but also having good intentions beneath that, and The Office backing him up and joining in on his dumb tradition that he does to try and make them happy. And that point specifically is part of what I love so much about this, and the show on the whole. The heartwarming, optimistic side of it. I've only seen the pilot of The British Office, so I don't want to speak on it like I'm an expert, but I'm aware it's more dark and less optimistic and hopeful than the American one. And that more depressing tone can even be seen in season 1 of this version. And I feel like if this episode had been in season 1, it probably would have just ended with Michael getting stuff thrown at him and then everyone goes home. But the fact that it has that heartfelt, slightly cheesy but uplifting ending is what I love about The Office. I love a heartwarming happy ending, especially for something like this where it fits perfectly, a fun sitcom. And that's part of what The Office does so well. And in addition to that, as a sort of second pilot for the show, this episode is a great introduction to these characters and their relationships. It lays the groundwork for the rest of the show really well, as if it was the very first episode. Unlike a lot of season 1, the show feels like it's its own thing now, and it has more energy behind it. It feels like a more tight episode with intention behind it to maximize the comedy and the fun of the whole experience. Which is also a great indicator of what most of the rest of the show is like. So yeah, The Dundies, from the opening joke to the closing Elton John song, is my favorite episode of The Office. Alright, now with all that said, here are the other 22 episodes that I had in my real contenders category for the top 10. Think of this as my honorable mentions. Basketball, sexual harassment, drug testing, conflict resolution, The Convict, safety training, local ad, Goodbye Toby, customer survey, Frame Toby, The Duel, Golden Ticket, Niagara, The Lover, Koi Pond, counseling, sex ed, viewing party, classy Christmas, threat level midnight, Goodbye Michael, that one nearly made it, AARM. And, yeah, here are the 52 others that I originally collected from the Wikipedia page. And then once again note that realistically, I like most of the other episodes as well, with just some exceptions. And again, even those few episodes have good moments in them, and you know what? At this point, I think you get that I like the show. So, that was my top 10 list. Hope you enjoyed it. What would your top 10 episodes be? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.